What's going on, everyone? Let's talk about Apple. Apple is not doing great, okay? Trust me. iPads are not selling well, MacBook Pros are overpriced, iPads are not selling well, MacBook Air and MacBooks are not recommended. I'm saying for iMacs, iMac Pros are not best for professionals. The AirPods and Apple Watch, for God's sake, are selling great. Then let's talk about Apple's services. Apple Pay, yeah, it's gonna take off in really the developed countries. Okay, it's gonna be good in developed countries, but not so great in other countries. Then what else do we have? App Store. Yeah, App Store is doing great. Trust me, it's doing great. But then you move to other services. iCloud, no sir, terribly overpriced for what it offers. Then what do you have? Apple Music. It's not good. Okay, it's not doing great as well. Not up to expectations. So in general, Apple is not doing great. But you read the title. Apple is going to do something new. Merge iOS and macOS together. Okay, so what is this all about? Let's discuss. So before we discuss about the needs of Project Marzipan, we actually should have an idea about the competition. So Apple's biggest competition in desktop arena is Microsoft. Microsoft has Windows 10, what Microsoft thinks as the perfect shot at syncing both tablets and desktops together. Well, as an operating system, they were really successful in it, but as for developers, this is not the case. As for a user, also this is not the case, because if I want to take my convertible Windows computer to my college, then what would I do? Well, I want to use this tablet, but do I have the apps? Well, Microsoft Store is there, but what does it have? Practically, Microsoft Windows Store is a failure. And that's the biggest problem. If I want to use some applications, I need to download the desktop version to have the best experience. And if I want to use that, then I should have a mouse and keyboard. Then what's the point of having a convertible? Well, switch over to another Apple's competition, which is the direct opposite of Microsoft, Google. Now, Google has Chrome OS, one of the most popular computers within students. So what's the problem with Chrome OS? The actual problem is Google has really good tablet applications compared to Microsoft. They have tons of them as well. So I can use tablet applications. What if I want to use desktop applications, the core applications? No, Chrome OS is not at all good at that. Windows is good at that. Mac is good at that. Google is not good at that. I can use Android-based applications, but when I want to go to full Windows-based applications, I mean full desktop-based applications, Google can't provide me that. I can't use the mouse and keyboard experience to its full potential in a Chromebook, even though Google is getting good at that. This is where Apple comes in. Apple has a good hold in both smartphones and desktops. iOS is a really flourishing industry. Same as for macOS. There are tons of Mac applications out there, and there are even more iOS applications out there. So if I want to get the best tablet experience like the iPad, I can go for, well, iPad. Then if I want to get the best experience for desktop, well, assuming that you're a Mac fan, you're an Apple ecosystem, then Mac is your best option. So Apple really have a good chance in making themselves shine once again if they are able to combine both of these together. And that is Project Marzipan. As simple as that. Okay, so there are a lot of set of groups who are benefited, and there are also some demerits. Okay, so let's talk about it. First of all, the first big group who has benefited is the developers. I mean, the Project Marzipan is fundamentally for developers. You see, even though Mac has lots of applications, the Mac App Store, which is just like iOS App Store, is not as great as Mac. Is not as great as any other app stores actually. So what actually happens here is when this project is announced, you can see that developers can easily create and update applications for both iOS and macOS. And the reason for that is there's an intermediate device called iPad. Now, if Apple uses this wisely, then and release and convertible and something convertible, some special kind of device which allows the iPad to go a completely new extent, what actually happens is developers start creating applications for the iPad, which will in turn work with the MacBook, Mac, iMac, on all kinds of Mac devices, and also would easily work on the iPhone. So throughout, when they develop for one particular device, throughout the industry is really succeeding. So you can see that developers are easily attracted to the Mac ecosystem, and what this fundamentally results in is as more developers are finding it easy to work in this particular ecosystem, new developers are automatically attracted. So this creates Mac probably an exploding industry. Okay, not just Mac, even iPhones and iPads. Even their sales numbers will grow, and the operating system's familiarity and also its fame grow. Wait, familiarity? Okay, before that, let's talk about Apple. Apple is also really benefited from this. First of all, it is heard that Apple is gonna make some modifications to the iPad. I mean, the essential goal with the project Marzipan is to modify iPad's user experience. Now, iPad is at the brink of being the best of both worlds, that is computer and phone. So if Apple is able to successfully, emphasis on successful, okay, if Apple is able to do this successfully, iPad is a completely different level. This not only means that iPads will sell more, tablets as a whole would go higher in number, at least in sales number, and Apple would be leading the industry, big time. Okay, iPads are currently going downhill, but this would really turn the tables, big time. Along with that, Apple is still a developer, okay? Fundamentally, when you think about it, Apple is a software developer which actually designs the operating system. So what actually happens is, when Apple want to create a new operating system, they can easily do it by combining the user experiences of Mac and iOS. So unlike before, Mac team and the iOS team can work together really intuitively. So features like continuity and handoff would be nothing for the features to come in the future. Along with that, have you ever seen Apple's conference? You'll be seeing tvOS, macOS, iOS, watchOS. There's too much OS, okay, to be frank. So this would actually all decrease that hustle and bustle. Okay, let's just forget that we know Apple fundamentally would receive more cash. But what about you and me, the users? Well, we are going to be benefited really well. You see, as a user, all the benefits coming to the developers and Apple is going to reflect to our user experience. How? For example, I told you about the fact that apps would be updated more easily and more and better apps would be coming to iOS and macOS. So as these apps find way to iOS, it's better for the user, right? For us, it's a more better user experience. That means what actually happens is new users are automatically attracted, and this again increases Apple's sales number, but also our essential experience and customer satisfaction. So there's a quality in Apple. So you see, whenever an Apple fanboy or any person in the matter of fact starts to use an Apple device, he's automatically attracted to the ecosystem and buys up another Apple device, and he starts buying up all Apple devices, even though his wallet is going empty. But what actually is the reason is Apple's ecosystem. I mean, MKBHD is a full video explaining about this. I'll link that in the description section down below. So when you're in the Apple ecosystem, it's hard to come out, but it's not bad by any means. It's really great. And with this added features of Project Marzipan, this is going to be a completely different level. So as a user, we are also being benefited in every possible way. Apple is growing, developers are growing, we are growing. But what is demerits? I mean, remember the headphone jacks going out? I mean, still taking place. The USB Type-C coming in? Still taking place. Remember the 30-pin connector going out and the lightning cables replaced? I mean, in the starting, there are always troubles, okay? Not just for us, for Apple too, because Apple has to find out a way to manage subscriptions and manage applications and sort out the developers and how their payment plans are going. I mean, there are a lot of things to figure out before pushing this plan outside. So now, after all of this is figured out, essentially what I see is a really good future for all of the communities taking place. So guys, thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you like it. Don't forget to share and subscribe. I'll see you later. Peace.